verse number.
Live streaming is on.
Yeah. So we were doing this verse number 32. No, the 31 we had finished. Sarva
30, uh, 30,
31, 31 we had finished, right?
30 we have finished
Okay.
entirely.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're right. So verse number these 30, 29 and 30. Yeah, I saw that you have mentioned. It's very good that you are mentioning the numbers so that people can quickly see the link. Sarvabhutastam atmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ichyate yogatatma sarvatra samadarshana. We first he mentions that because the sansara is appearing in multiples, there are several things. This is not one particular thing. But you are saying that everything is Brahman. How does that work out? And therefore, he's explaining it. Ending sarvabhutastam atmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ichyate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshina. Yogena samadarshana yukta atma. Yoga yukta atma. So we had understood what is that yoga yukta. It's not that somebody who is sitting in meditation or doing pranayama everything, but this is a larger meaning which is assigned to this word here, because we are talking about dhyana yoga with a lot of focus on vichara, on nididhyasana, on meditation, not just on the mind to control it, to bring it to a state of peace or null and kind of a, just make the mind still. No, that doesn't work in the long term. You have to have that overall understanding. So this particular yoga yuktatma that Bhagavan is referring to is just not a abhyasi of sitting and doing meditation, but he also has a lot of effort being done by him to develop that outlook where even when he is in the waking state, he's not sitting in meditation, he's in the Bhuttana dasa, as they say. He's not in meditation. During the states outside of his meditation practices, he is a Samadarshi. Earlier, there was a lot of emphasis on it, that how the Panditas look at different human beings in different social situations is one and the same, even the animals and humans. Why? You have that Antaryami Purusha in all of us. Narayana is there in all of us. And then Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam, because there's two things, because this Antaryami is in everything. And then all of us, where are we? Prithvi is hanging. They ask in the Vedic, you know, the discussions, where is the Prithvi hanging? What is, who is holding it? Prithvi is holding everything. Then it is clear that Bhagavan Vishnu is holding this Prithvi, in the sense that Paramatma is holding everything that appears in the sansara, because Sarva Adhishtanatvad. It is Adhisthana, the foundation of everything. Material foundation? No. It's a non-material foundation of all material realities. How can non-material be the foundation of material realities? That again is explained in great detail. That this is a vivarta, this is a metamorphosis of that Suddha Satta. The Buddhists will say that is Sunya. The Madhyamika Buddhists will say, out of nothing, everything has come. How? They will say Sanghata. There's a principle of interdependence. Buddha says, if I press this, that one goes. And that is true. Every movement, you cannot do anything without creating some consequences for you and for others. The whole universe is in a state of interdependence. Vedanta also says the same thing, that if we do karma, it creates clouds, and the clouds give rain, and rain gives ausadhi and anna, and then Purusha sustain. There is a whole interdependent cycle. We also talk about it, Buddhism also talks about it. The basic difference being that what they refer to as Sunya, we refer to as Purna. It is Atma, that Brahman, which is the foundation of everything. That very Brahman, with the Maya Sakti, with the power of delusion, creates this whole samsara. That Maya Upahita Chaitanya, with this branding of Maya, if the Brahman When it's associated with Maya, he becomes Ishvara, he becomes God. Then he is a compassionate person, or he can punish and he can reward, he can do all this. So Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam, Sarva Bhutani cha Atmani, and everything is in the Atma. The one, and I am everywhere in how? He clarifies that Sakshitena. Right? So if it's like you are sitting on a horse cart, the cart is moving, you're also moving. That Suddha Satta Chaitanya is in all of us. And we have sort of discussed that to death, in the sense that everything that we see is permeated by that consciousness. Because here we are trying to explain how everything is not just interrelated as isolated things, they are also supported by one fundamental unified field of consciousness. Okay, and then who can see this? That means he is somebody who is not looking at the world as separate from each other, because राग द्वेष तभी आता है जो हम सबको अलग अलग करके देखेंगे. Doesn't mean a dog which is coming to bite you, you are going to play with it and allow it to bite you. No, you're going to protect yourself. You're going to deal with it. You'll not run away. You'll try to deal with it. You'll do whatever is the advice. And otherwise, this karma siddhanta will become futile. Then you will not do anything because everything is one. The idea is not that. Paramarthikatvena, one. Vyavaharikatvena, bheda will be there. Father, mother, child, daughter, brother, sister, all these differences will be there. But these differences are not in themselves fundamentally true, because there's a unity which pervades and transcends these apparent differences, apparent dualities. इसको जो देख लेता है, and then who can see that I am the Sarva Adhisthana, that fellow is what? Ichyate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshinaha. That this is the foundation, the adhisthana. Atma is everything. Doesn't mean that everything is all a joke and completely mithya. No. We say that prapancha is anirvachanya, difficult to describe, difficult to understand, neither true nor false, but it is not completely false. Because the snake will not appear if there is no rope. So without some foundation, how can you see something else? If there is a bird, then you can confuse that bird to be something else. If there is a sweet singing bird perched on a branch of a tree and you're at a distance, you're confused whether it's a cuckoo bird or it's a crow or anything, because it's not singing, it's quietly sitting there. You're getting confused, looking at the size of it and trying to do inference as to what kind of a bird it is. But remember this, that these dualities always presuppose there is a foundation. Then only we can say that this is all Satya, below, beneath, beyond whatever is available to our eyes. And then he turns it to me, because as if there will be a confusion that Lord Krishna is not Brahman. So he says, Yomang Pasyati Sarvatra, and he sees Sarvadhisthana, he mentioned, and that is me actually pervading and staying in everything, is Antaryami Purusha. Pasyati Sarvatra, Sarvam cha Mai Pasyati, and I am also the, I am the Dhata, I am holding all this universe in me. Vishwarupa Darshana chapter is going to come, and we'll see that how Arjuna saw that particular thing. Tasyaham na pranashyami, and pranashyami is not that I don't kill him. We have discussed that yesterday. Essentially, that pranasa is adarshana. I never vanish from his vision, his understanding. Because the moment that truth we forget, then we are again caught up in samsara. Sacha me na pranashyati. So neither I and he also is never unavailable to me, in the sense this particular bhakta, because Bhagavan is never in picture, it's all for us for sadhana. Bhagavan is reassuring that when you are doing sadhana, you have reached the ultimate stage. It's quite possible, because you are not praying and meditating from morning to night and throughout the night. You'll be disconnected so far the practice is concerned. But remember, if you are all the time able to remember the presence of God, more than half the problems are over. Why? Because that will become an anchor for you, that will become a guiding force. A lot of people think that, of course, these are smaller things to talk about, but a lot of people, parents, they get their son forcibly married because he's a little wayward. Why? Oh, the wife will come, she'll guide him, control him. Actually, it doesn't happen. It's a very apparent thing. It's possible, a lot of things will change, but the real changes will not happen. It's much more effective that emotional anchor we look for in another human being. That human being is not permanent, his attitude towards us is also not permanent. But God is permanent, truth is permanent. This particular truth which is being told to us by this Shastra is permanent. But we don't have enough trust in it and we think it may not work. That is the problem. Otherwise, a lot of people look for the best emotional anchor is what? You are all the time with the divinity and you are actually divine. But we sometimes don't accept it, we don't understand it. So Bhagavan is reiterating that eternal truth that I shall never be unavailable to you, in the sense you shall never suffer a disconnection or rupture or discontinuation of your awareness of that unified truth, that unified field of consciousness of which you are a part. When you are having this change in your attitude, even if you are in samsara, even if you go back to samsara and do 20, 30, 40 assignments a day, depending on where you are and what you're doing, you shall ever stay anchored in me, guided by me, and I'm there to help you. Now, that is the Bhakta Bhagavan kind of a perspective. But even higher level, of course, you'd be all the time established in yourself. Nobody can disturb you, distract you. You will respond to people. You will not blindly react because reaction happens when we are not aware of what is the inputs that are there in us which are getting activated. Is raga, is dvesha. We don't know. वो अपने आप react करा देता है. But when we know what is there in our kitchen, we shall cook a recipe based on who is there and what we can serve him or her. This whole sansara is like that, and we are always coming up with different kinds of responses. Now, in the next verse 31, let's do Ucharanam. Now, in this verse, he's now explaining that phala he mentions that you'll never miss me. Here, further elaborates what we should do if that is the truth. Now, look at it. Let's do Charanam. Sarva bhuta stitam yomang
सर्वभूतस्थितं यो मां
bhajatyeka
भजत्
भजत्येकत्वमास्थितः
भजत्येकत्वमास्थितः
सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि
सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि
स योगी मयि वर्तते.
स योगी मयि वर्तते.
Now, this is a very beautiful, very sweet piece of reassurance Bhagavan is giving us. As I was just mentioning, no sadhaka, however great he is sitting in meditation 24 hours. He has to do several things. Number one. Number two, there is something called prarabdha. Even if you are liberated, even if you have greatest understanding of the truth, there is a load of karma in on all of us. So it's quite possible that you are doing some very urgent work and then you receive a phone call. You have to attend to somebody. You have to go to attend to somebody. It's possible that some minor physical problems, like we suffered the whole corona pandemic, all of us got affected. So these are prarabdhas. We cannot do anything. Of course, that was because of adhivautika. It's adhidaivika dukkha, not controlled by anyone. Don't even make sense of it, how that happens. So What happens to the sadhaka? What is going to happen to me? Oh, sir, student will ask. भगवान इतने सारे दुख हैं, इतने सारे काम है, and we have to do all that. How do we manage ourselves? What happens to us? Bhagwan has a word of reassurance. He's saying, Sarva Bhuta Stitam Yoma, the one who is being able to see me as Antaryami Purusha, as all pervading. He doesn't see me as only sitting in the temple or sitting in his puja altar at home. I am everywhere, and that is the truth. Bhajati ekatvam asthitaha. So again, there is an emphasis on non-dualism. So he gets that unity, that association, that oneness with the Lord, with the Paramatman, with that ultimate Paramarthika Satya, that truth, that Paramatma, Brahman. He gets that ekatva. He doesn't see himself as different. How he is getting it, we discussed that in the last two verses. Everything is in that Brahman, and Brahman is in everything. And then you bring it to the Saguna Brahma. Lord Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, don't see me as different. I am verily Brahman, and I am in everything, and everything is in me. That is a key message he has given. Then he says, if you have understood these two verses, and if you are able to meditate on me in the light of the last two verses, if you want to practice bhakti in the light of verse number 29 and 30, then what happens? Sarvatha Bhartamanopi, because you cannot be at one place doing one thing and all the time doing puja and japa of me. I understand it's very difficult, it's not possible. But I tell you what is possible. If you continue to do this bit of meditation, you continue to stay aware of me, you don't have to sit in the puja room. You have to go to office. You have to meet people. You have to go and meet your families. That all you will do. Because of prarabdha, you have duties to do. You cannot avoid them. You avoid what you can. But you have to be compassionate, you have to be loving, you have to do your duties. You shall be a Vidheya Atma. The Atmagyani is not somebody who is violating moral code of ethics. By nature, he is ethical. He cannot break the rules not because he's afraid, or he will have papa punya because he doesn't have ahankara, he doesn't have this papa buddhi punya buddhi is beyond that. But by his abhyasa, by nature, he doesn't require any ethical advice or doesn't need an ethical vichara. By nature, he's a good person. So he's a vidhyatma. What is to be done, he does by nature. He has reached there. His swabhava has got transformed. So Bhagavan says, you go everywhere, do everything. Sa yogi mai vartate is always in me. This is the Jivan Mukti stage. That प्रारब्ध कर्म के कारण बेचारा हर जगह हो सकता है, लेकिन मुझ में ही रहेगा, because that is the ultimate truth, by the way. We are all the time in the Lord, and the Lord is all the time in us. हर क्षण भगवान हमारे अंदर विद्यमान है, और हर क्षण भगवान के गोद में ही हम लोग वर्तमान है. क्यों? बिना सपोर्ट का, बिना that foundation, without it we don't exist. We don't exist. Even dreams can exist if there is a person to dream them, right? So all this srishti has that ultimate foundation. So Bhagwan is reiterating he's always in me. Again, we have to relate it to the verse number 30. What Bhagwan is saying? मैं उसको कभी भी धोखा नहीं देता. I never disappear from his consciousness, provided he is able to meditate. A bit of chicken egg problem, isn't it? Bhagavan is saying, I'll always assure you, provided you remember me. And that is the secret. All the divine grace flows to us only when we are aware of it. Imagine you have cash in a particular bag, you have forgotten it. You are going to a holiday. You are quickly looking at it, cash nahi hai, wahan pe to ATM nahi hoga, wo nahi hoga, wo nahi hoga. And then you're suddenly very, very disturbed. Then your mom says, you forgot 5 days back already you got some money. Where did you keep it? Oh, mama, thank you. Then you run and you take that money out of that bag because you think you don't have any cash and you're going to a remote place. There may not be these ATMs and all these payment things may or may not work. Network may be very weak, the mobile network. But certainly you already had it. Now, this money you had became useful because you remembered it. So you could be having the money and it will not be of any use. You'll be like a poor person if you're not aware of that money that you have. So Bhagavan is saying the same thing. Bhagavan doesn't cease to exist, like the money did not cease to exist. It was always with you, but it became useful when you remembered it. Bhagavan saying same thing. Once you remember me, I shall never abandon you. But make sure you remember me because I'm actually always with you and you shall be established. Me means I'm the last refuge of the desperate people, but I'm the first step for the jnani. He's always remembering me, not because he wants something, because he knows that is the truth. He cannot be aware of himself without remembering me. And there's a very interesting, many of the love songs you hear would actually be love songs for God. So that Omar Khayyam, if you read, you will think that these are love. This is a love poem. Actually, it's a poem for God. So there's this song long back I had heard by Ghulam Ali where he says, "I was thinking of you. I was lost in you all the time. Now, if I want to meet myself, how can I meet myself without thinking about you? Just flip it and make it a spiritual bhakti geet." It's so true. The bhakta who is all the time surrendered to the Lord, can he think about himself without thinking about God? No. So the Vedanti cannot think of himself without thinking about God because God is all pervading, He's antaryami, He's in everything. And therefore, Bhagavan says that He is always, so He's Madhbhava Parna Bhavati, He's always there. And He's Brahmavid, Sarvatha, Vartamanaha, because अपना प्रारब्ध के कारण जहाँ पे भी रहो and vividha chesta vad deha chestaya, because he will go take a bath, he will go take some food, he will get sleep, he has to take some medicine if he's not well. All these activities, despite, is always in me, and he knows that. And I shall never abandon him, and he shall never forget me. That is the beautiful co-relationship, that mutuality of Bhakta and Bhagavan. And then that Bhakta Bhagavan duality also disappears when he becomes one with the Lord and he becomes Brahman himself, as they say. Now, is a bit further elaboration on this. Because of Prarabdha, he is everywhere, he's doing everything. But how does he relate to everyone? अपने बारे में तो हो गया सब जगह. How does he, because that was Sthita Prajna Kya Bhasa, that question was, how does he move in samsara? How does he move? How does he interact? Because the student has to understand everything. Bhagavan has to explain. So he's explaining now. In the verse number 32, let's do Ucharanam. Atmaupamyena sarvatra
आत्मरूपेण सर्वत्र
samang pashyati yorjuna
समं पश्यति योऽर्जुन
sukham va yadi va dukkham
सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं
sa yogi paramo mataha.
सः योगी परमो मतः.
नाउ योग युक्तात्मा बता दिए अपना साधना कैसे करेगा. लेकिन man is a social animal, as Aristotle said. The one who lives without a society is either an animal or God. But actually, animals also have their societies. The prime, they say the primate societies. If you go to Rajasthan cities, you go to Vrindavan, you see the monkeys. They have their own societies. The tigers have their own pride. The elephant also have their own groups. They live in big groups. They have their own society. And of course, the ants, they also have their own societies. They have a queen bee. They have governance structures. Now, in our life, even if we learn about Bhagavad Gita and all, we cannot wish away the need for having some interactions to do with the external world, which includes other human beings, fellow human beings, and animals. They are also fellow animals. They have also Antaryami Purusha, unlike in Christianity or in Islam. They believe that only human beings have souls, animals don't have. So they think killing and eating is not a problem. Of course, killing and eating is also permitted here for some ritual purposes here. But largely, animals have souls. That is not there. So they call it, like cattle farming. It's like a crop. But soul, everyone has a soul. Even the stone, the river, the mountain, the plants, everywhere. So we call it Vriksha Devata. They have Atman. So there are strict rules. You cannot pluck trees out of pluck flowers and leaves out of the trees at night. Strictly prohibited because the trees are sleeping. You cannot disturb. And then there are prayers to be made. There are mantras to be. If Ishitva Chinnati, there are rules in Vedas. You want to get some uh, bel patte, whale leaves for, like for example, Savan is coming for Lord Shiva. But there are rules how to pluck those leaves, and you should pray to the tree. Tulsi plant you are also taking. So on Sunday you cannot take the Tulsi leaves. There are rules for every damn thing because they are all conscious and they will curse us. That is the idea. So even if we enter into a house, we do one Griha Pratishta, Griha Pravesha. So we try to sort of sanctify this place. We also pray to that place. Whenever we are sitting in meditation, we do asana suddhi, but there we pray to Mother Earth. Oh Mother Earth, bless me, you're holding me, and you are held by Lord Vishnu, Narayana. So we believe in that pantheistic thing. Everywhere, consciousness is everywhere. The Lord is everywhere. So Bhagavan is saying, what does he say? How do we interact with others? Atma opamyena. Atma opamyena, the word, there are two words here, Atma and Upama. Upama is Sadrishya, comparability, similarity. Atma opamyena sarvatra samang pasyati yaha Arjuna. Hey Arjuna, the one who looks at everywhere, every human being, putting himself while looking at others in his consideration. What does it mean? In the Bible, there's a very interesting sentence: "Don't you shall not do unto your neighbor which you shall not do unto yourself." जो अपने साथ नहीं करोगे, अपने पड़ोसी के साथ वो आप नहीं करेंगे. What does it mean? You shall not harm your neighbor because you will never harm yourself. So this is a no harm principle, but here it goes one step further, and it says, "Sukham va yadi va dukham," that you will see katvena. This Atmavid, if you do a lot of sadhana, you are walking in the street, somebody drives in the latest version of the Mercedes car, a beautiful car. So once I was going with a friend in Mumbai, and friend in the sense an acquaintance, and he was a rich guy, businessman, so he was driving a very good model of Mercedes car. So he said, "Come in," and I found this when it is heavy rain, the car has the ability to heat up the window panes, and they sort of warm, and the water dries up very quickly. And there are different controls on the car, and You absolutely don't feel any jerks or anything. It's an expensive car. Now, if you're a Vedanti, if you're a sadhaka, you are standing on the roadside, somebody's going in that car. You are walking or you are going by a bus or maybe you are having a simple car. So do you feel jealous? Craving will be entering you. I also need to have that car. Then karma bandha because you'll charge yourself. I need that. I need that. Let me have that. Let me have that. Then the floodgates opens up. Sadhana ends. Then duality comes in. Craving comes in. Peace gone. What is advised here? Why don't you also enjoy the fact that there is another person driving, but that another person is you? Because why? Because you are already a Sarvatma. You are seeing yourself everywhere. Because you are not different from God, you are everywhere because you see the foundation. So you put yourself there and release eyes. So, all of us, we always relish when we see small children playing and enjoying. Generally, there are some people who get angry. If somebody is not well, he's trying to sleep and children are shouting, or you want to have a Gita Satsang, children are shouting, you feel a little upset. But generally, children playing, when you see that, why do you relish it? Why do you feel happy? You are able to relate to it, that you also enjoyed playing, having fun with your friends when you were a child. So, what are you having there as an experience is exactly what is mentioned here. Atma opamena. As if that happiness is yours. You are also smiling. They have nothing to do with you. So, there's an old person who's sitting in a park, and there is a young man and a woman who come, maybe a young couple with a small child or without a child, and then they start having an argument. They love each other, but they have an argument, which is normal. They are living together. They have a small quarrel kind of thing, and this old man or woman who's sitting in the park, she looks at them, smiles, and then there is a bit of an argument, and she feels bad. Sometimes she wants to interview, why are you doing this? Why should you shout at her? Or why should you shout at him? Sometimes she identifies. Why? She identifies with the sadness which they're experiencing. She identifies. This identification, remember, you have to keep that in mind. We're talking about a yoga yuktasma. These experiences I'm mentioning is about normal people who are in samsara who do not have that self understanding. Therefore, their having samadrishti for sukha and dukkha of others is in the form of an attachment. The child is not well, the mother is very sad. The son got a job, the mother is super happy. That is tadatmya. She is not a yoga yuktatma. And she will feel jealous about the neighbor's son getting a job. And she may also feel jealous because the neighbor's son got a very beautiful girl as a bride. Her son is not finding a bride. She can have these conflicting emotions. The Yoga Yuktatma, looking at the happiness and sadness of others, if somebody is sad, he doesn't go and he'll try to be compassionate, he'll try to help. He doesn't get trapped, but he feels compassion. He's not insensitive. He wants to help. Somebody is happy, he doesn't stop him from being happy. Like you are a sannyasi or you are a spiritual person. Does it mean you will get angry or jealous of people who want to marry, have children, have a house? Why? Let them have that. You do your sadhana and you are on your path. Somebody is an engineer, somebody is a maybe a pilot, somebody maybe is a business person, and you are maybe a painter. Should you get angry with all other people? Why shouldn't you all be painters and be my friends? No. They are on their path. You are on your path. So this yoga yuktatma, there are two words here. Samam Pasyati. Now, one of the commentators, I liked his judgment on this. He's saying this Pasyati word, that Samam word is mentioned, that he sees everything is as one. The Samam should be connected with Sarvatra Pashyati. He sees everywhere. And not that Atma Opamyena Pashyati. No, don't bring it there. Sarvatra. Atma Opamyena Sarvatra Pashyati. He sees it everywhere in all human beings. Sukha Dukha. And Bhagavan Sankaracharya and many other Advaita commentators, very rightly they have mentioned, अहिंसकत्वेन, हिंसा नहीं करना है. कोई दुखी है, आप कुछ मदद कर सकते हैं, कीजिए, लेकिन फंस मत जाइए. The nurse who is in charge of an ICU, intensive care unit, takes care of the patients, but she doesn't feel the pain in the sense she doesn't become emotional, she doesn't suffer a breakdown. The relative of the patient have that problem. She has to do her duty. She's full of compassion, but she doesn't have emotional hassles. That's part of the approach in yoga, that we have to be very quiet and compassionate and loving, but not get overtly emotional with what is happening around. Then that is, emotional irritation and sensitivity. A lot of people, you remember, I remember, you may be a child or may not be born. There was this big student demonstration because reservation in the year 1990. I'm sure you are not born. And that time, what happened was that some students, they committed sacrifice, they committed suicides because they will not get jobs. So one girl somewhere committed suicide, and then that was kind of a epidemic. There were too many people trying to burn themselves and killing themselves, that we are being discriminated, especially these upper caste boys who are preparing for an examination. What is going to happen now, kind of thing. That is an emotional disturbance. You are just getting too much obsessed, and a lot of people become too violent, they become too emotional. So we have to keep in mind here that word, that he's saying he's a parama yogi, but because samang pashyati, that he clarifies, samang pashyati yo arjuna, sukham va yadi va dukham sa yogi paramo ataha. So there are two things you have to keep in mind here. Bhagavad Gita, a lot of people might think that is preaching yoga and dhyana as if it's a very selfish thing to do. You are not bothered about society, but remember the words that we have studied so far. There is a word called Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. That Samadarshi thing, Samadrishti is coming again and again. Here again he's saying, Sukham Sukham va yadiva dukham Usa Sarvatra Samam Pasyati. Sees that. And there are several other slokas like that, where Bhagavad Gita is preaching dutifulness, devotion based on jnana, based on a proper understanding, not running away, but with a very strong streak of compassion and social sensitivity. And this social sensitivity is not nirarthaka, it's not a good thing, that's why you should do it. Remember, we need antakarana suddhi, we need to have spiritual grace of God. These works of charity, acts of charity, or helping somebody, or somebody is in problem, you try to do it. Nothing is nirarthaka. They are part of our sadhana. When we do that, we loosen ourselves. We try to share our happiness with others. That comes back 20 times, 50 times. That will come back as grace. So when you're studying, maybe your distractions are less, uh, external interference with our sadhana is less, they all come back. So Bhagwan is here that important. He's mentioning some places that there's this beautiful book, long back I read it. If you find it, you can have a look at it. It's called The Art of Dreaming. And there's a very famous author, a South American author called Carlos Castaneda. He wrote about many other things. But in that, he harps on one important sentence I remember. Try to lose your sense of self importance, then great things are possible. So, ahankara mamakara kind of blocks our consciousness from realizing its full potential. So, Bhagwan is advising us that the best yogi is not the one who can sit in meditation for 6 months, is the one who knows how to deal with samsara or the human beings where he's not sitting in meditation. As they say, and I think there was one great writer, he's no more, very famous writer. He used to say that the village girl who stays at home doesn't know 1% of the richness of purity of a girl who is working. He told this to me long back, 3 decades back, maybe. I was in college or something. He said this because he says that the village girl doesn't know what is samsara, she doesn't know what is bad, what is good. She is protected externally. She is like a lamp which is there on the table inside a house. But the lamp which is burning outside despite wind, that is the lamp which survives. So we need to deal with our distractions, but convert our distractions into meaningful, thoughtful, compassionate participation in samsara, in society. Then is the test of our sadhana coming correct. We are on the right path. Satsanga is fine, meditation is fine, puja is fine. When you are away from other people, everything is fine. The moment you get back into a metro or a bus or go to office, our spiritual sadhana is put to test. And Bhagwan has given an advice and will move further, but tomorrow is a Sunday. So we'll again meet on Monday. So you can drop your questions in the group if you want, but let's do the Santi mantra. Om Purnamadaha
Mother,
Purnamida
Om Namaha,
Purnat
Om
Purnamudachyate
Gachati,
Purnasya
Om
Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Sarvesham Swastirbhavatu Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pasyantu Ma Kasya Dukha Asado Ma Hargamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti
Shanti,
Shanti
Shanti,
Sri Guru
Sri
Pyo
Guru
Namaha
Devo
Hari Om
Hari
Take care.